Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Backseat Drawing Workshops. I'm Eric.
And I'm Josh. And Eric, I've always wondered, how do you choose your colors?
So it's kind of you kind of develop an eye for it. Like you can start to feel the kind of palette that you want to build. But
Okay.
so everyone's going to have a different way that they're going to build their palette, but I'll go over how I kind of do mine.
Okay.
So we're going to use this piece that I've been working on for a while now, which is a piece of Spike and Rarity. And there's a lot of purple in this, so I had to develop a lot of different kind of purple palettes. So what I'm really going to be talking about is how I create the shading and the highlighting for a single color, basically.
Okay.
All right, so let me block out a section here. And I already kind of sampled the color from Spike's, like the color that he is going to be like this color right here. So
where did this come from? You just pick it out?
Yeah, it's kind of, I kind of picked it like right in the middle ground between the highlights and the shadows.
Well, no. So initially, before you did the painting, did you just pick it out of?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew he's purple, and I kind of knew that I wanted a warmer purple, so I just kind of picked it out of my brain. But you can sample it from, if you're drawing fan art, you can sample it from your source. But for me, I just picked out this purple. So one of the important things about picking colors is that you don't want to be murky with them. By murky, I mean like it. As you grow your color, it just seems murky or cloudy, and this happens a lot to people who are kind of using just values when they go to light and dark. And values only talk about light and dark.
So when you say value, it's like you're increasing the brightness or decreasing the brightness.
If I were to show you this color, see how this moved to this little section here, that's representing that color. Value would be straight up and down. It's either getting more black or it's either getting, well, in this direction or in this direction. This is kind of like the value spectrum right here. But I don't want to do that because I don't want things to get blacker as they recede to shadow. What I want to do is think about the color temperature. So if I want to make a object recede into the shadows but stay warm, here's how I do it. So the color that I have is this one. The next step I'm going to go, instead of going straight down, I'm actually going to start going towards this section right here. That brings me to a more saturated shadow that's a little warmer side. So I might actually scoot into the red too. So that's going to be my next color.
So on this axis, you're going toward saturation right now?
Yeah, towards saturation and darkness. So as you can see, I'm kind of building a section here that looks like it's getting darker, but it's not getting more black. Because if I were to do that...
Staying colored.
Right, let me show you the difference here. If I go this way with it, it's starting to get murkier. And this is okay if you want it to be this way. But what this generally builds is a palette that seems a little murkier in the end. So I generally don't go that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and just cross that little section out. That's not what I generally do. Like I said, this might be right for you. I just don't do it that way. So I'm going to continue going in my sort of saturated direction here. And as you can see, I've already gone down to a point where now I have a whole spectrum of colors I can select from that all go to the shadow, but they all stay kind of saturated. Now to go for highlights, I kind of just do this opposite thing where I go the other, I scoot up towards the northeast corner.
So you're still increasing saturation, but you're also going up in brightness.
Yeah, I'm going up in brightness. Now, if I wanted to do this same thing, but instead of being warm shadows, I wanted to be them like I wanted to make them so they're cool shadows. Let me go back to this center part here. I'm really going to just scoot towards something that's a little cooler. So I'm going to now go into the purple zone, purple bluish zone.
So you changed the actual color here this time.
Yeah, because I needed to get closer to blue.
Okay, and blue being the closest cool color to where you were.
Right, and so for that first one, I scooted it back towards red. Now I'm just scooting it back towards blue. So if I wanted to do these shadows or the highlights going in a cool direction, because you can do that, I'll come back to blue again and pick something that's going to kind of go up towards the brighter end of the spectrum. Kind of go scoot back this way.
Now, all that you're building here also relies on this style of coloring that you use in Photoshop, where you rely heavily on the eyedrop tool, right?
Right. And when I sample, I'm really just using the shortcut for the eyedropper. And now that I have like the palette basically built up,
You're also relying on blending as well. So where those colors meet,
so
you have different opacities as you lay them down, and you're
right. Right. I'm just using the eyedropper, the quick eyedropper, and the the pressure sensitivity on my tablet, and I'm just kind of blending them all together. But you can blend them however you want. Like I could have used a bigger airbrush, and that would have made it a little easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is happening. Like you don't necessarily have this palette available. It's all happening in the painting too, right?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I could build a palette like this and kind of like just set it to the side, maybe up in the corner, and then kind of select for them as like a real palette, like I'm selecting from that palette into the drawing. But a lot of it I'm just kind of doing in my head. So like as I'm painting, you know, I'll select here, and if I need a new color, I'll actually bring it up. But other than that, once the palette's established, I just select from where I see it in the drawing. And the reason why I showed you this specific warm and cool section here is because I actually did it in this painting. So the part that's here, all in this bright white or kind of yellowish light, is all warm versus this part that's back here in the shadow, which is all cool. So I used this part of it for the face, but this part of it for the back part, just to keep the contrast between the two sections. And that way you create a composition that has both a focal point and a part that recedes into the background.
Okay. And I guess it's worth pointing out a lot of it's, or I guess I'm not pointing it out, but it does seem like you have some kind of grayish things in there, but they look purple because of
yeah. And that's
that next to purples.
Yeah, and that's a pretty advanced lighting technique where you kind of desaturate your shadows just so that you can keep your figures' faces in the view, or you want something to pop out. And like Josh is saying, like these gems here are very saturated, they're very colorful, whereas this gem back here is kind of yellow, desaturated, kind of faded out in the background because the lighting is not on it, and I don't want to draw as much attention to it. So a lot of these things, as you're building your composition, a lot can be expressed through lighting. Aside from just the figures, in the lighting color itself, you can do a lot with that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Color is amazing. You know, there's a lot behind color theory. It's a class in many curriculums too, right?
Yeah, it is. There's a lot you can do with color. But I hope this helped you pick out palettes in your future drawings, and we'll see you on a future episode of Backseat Drawing Workshops.
Smell you later.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Backseat Drawing Workshops. I'm Eric.
And I'm Josh.
You have to ask me the question.
Oh, there's a thing for me?
Yeah.